After about a year of absolutely nobody asking me to launch a podcast, I have decided to launch my very own podcast. And I wanted to make this video to talk about why I'm launching this podcast, as well as why I haven't been quite as active on YouTube lately. You guys may have noticed that I haven't really been posting new videos every single week anymore. And I've had a couple people asking me if I'm going to go back to posting every week regularly again ever. And the answer is that I'm not. At least I don't currently plan on ever going back to regularly posting every single week. And in this video, I wanted to share why I'm doing that and kind of how things might look and change going forward. First, let's talk about the podcast. It's called Steady Lads, and it's all about the crypto space, what's being built, the technology behind crypto, where the space is going, and just kind of all the amazing things that are happening that really nobody's talking about. I've noticed that outside the crypto space, there is this massive misunderstanding about the crypto space. Even really, really smart people that I respect have really bad takes on the crypto space, because to them, all they see is like when FTX collapses, or they'll see when Celsius collapses, or they'll see the hacks, or the bad actors in the space, or maybe they know about Dogecoin and all these meme coins and all these different Ponzi's that may be in the crypto space, and they look at it from the outside, not really understanding the space, and they're like, What is this? This is garbage. Why would anyone put their money here? What is the point of this space? This isn't innovative. This is like the world would be better off in their minds if there was no crypto. And the reality is that couldn't be further from the truth. People see things like AI or quantum computing or autonomous vehicles, and they immediately recognize their value because we have enough like novels and movies and different things to kind of like give us sort of a precedent for like what those things could become and why those things are valuable. But in my opinion, I think that crypto has the ability to change the world more than all three of those things combined. And I get how like absolutely insane that might sound, but I swear I have a like legitimately solid argument for why I believe that. I think for some of you guys will actually convince you that I'm right and that crypto really will change the world more than these other amazing technologies that we know are world changing. And before I go any further and explain my argument, if you're just wanting to check out the podcast and see, what it's all about, there's a link in the description of this video. You can click that and go check it out right now. So why do I believe that crypto is so revolutionary? Well, for all of history, governments have controlled our financial system. They have controlled money. They've been the persons in charge of like financial innovation, building finance systems, and managing those finance systems. And historically, they've always been really poor stewards of those systems. At a certain point, the government has needs that like they decide are more important than the needs of everyone else. So these systems are supposed to serve everyone, but the government needs a little bit extra money to go do this thing, or like they want to go fund this war, or like whatever it is. And it's so easy. They control the system that they start just kind of like pulling from that system for themselves at the expense of everyone else that system is supposed to serve. Which is usually why these systems end up collapsing, is because, at a certain point they weaken it down, so much that the whole kind of house of cards falls apart, and then the country's in financial ruin, and it affects all the citizens of the country that really didn't do anything wrong. They weren't the ones that mismanaged the system. It was the government that did that, but they have no choice because what can they do? They can only use the government's financial system because that's the only option that they have. Well, for the first time in history, as a people, we have the option to opt in to an alternative financial system other than the one that our government supplies us. It's an open and global financial system that's built on the free market. So it's not managed by any government. It's not controlled by any government, but it's a financial system that's native to the internet. And while it's currently in its infancy and crypto has a lot of flaws that need to be fixed, I believe that over time, those issues and the hurdles that crypto faces will be fixed, and there will be solutions to all of these problems. It's the J curve of innovation, where 20 years ago you had to access the internet, you had to have this really expensive hardware that not a lot of people had, which was a computer. You had to dial up the internet, which sometimes could take like 30 minutes. Loading up a single web page could sometimes take 5 minutes, and the web page was literally just text. And back then, people had a hard time imagining like there's so many issues the internet faces. How can this ever be a useful technology to where today we have like far more powerful computers that sit in our pocket that instantly connect to this global wireless network. It's like a pro camera system. You have apps. You have all these different things in these pages where we could stream live video through the app without a single issue. And all of that happened in just 2 decades. So imagine a decade, 2 decades from now, where crypto innovation will be, how all these problems will be solved, and that all the things that hold back the adoption of this different alternative financial system will no longer exist, and we'll have these really great products and really great solutions that people can access versus their government legacy financial system. And financial systems are kind of like the soil of a nation. So you have a nation that has a really good financial system. Well, that allows people to prosper. That allows businesses to grow. That allows economies to grow. That allows innovation to grow. And these bright minds, these people that are like really smart, they have the ability, they have that good soil where they can spring up, come up with these crazy innovations, and that those innovations feed into that economy and allow that nation to prosper. And it's really hard when you have a bad financial system, when all you have to worry about is putting food on the table, or you got to worry about paying your bills. For these people who could have been the world's greatest innovators, they could have been the next Steve Jobs, they could have been the next Elon Musk, or the next Bill Gates, or Warren Buffett, or whatever. All these people that could have brought so much financial value to their economy, they don't have the soil to grow up and prosper and do these amazing things. And because they don't, these kind of people get lost to history. And so countries that have bad financial systems are like countries with bad soil, and businesses can't spring up, economies can't spring up, and it makes it really hard for anyone in that nation to prosper. And slowly that nation kind of just starts to crumble. And it's my belief that crypto, by its very nature of not being built and innovated by a government, is going to be a radically superior financial system. It's going to be 1,000 times better than any financial system any government has been able to come up with. And being that it will be a radically superior system for finance, the countries that adopt this financial system, which I don't think it's going to be like the United States, I think it'll probably be small third world countries. These countries will prosper because they're going to allow that good soil in their nation for businesses, economies, and innovation to spring up. In the legacy countries like the US and these Western countries that choose to not adopt these systems and use these clunky old governmental finance systems, they're going to struggle, and eventually they will become second-rate and third-rate countries, because they'll be kind of like all the businesses in the early 2000s that were faced with the internet. Those businesses that were like the biggest top businesses of the world, there was a certain subset of them that they ignored the internet. They're like, I don't care about this isn't important, and they chose to kind of stay away from it until it was too late. And a lot of those businesses ended up going bankrupt and getting replaced by businesses like Netflix or businesses like Amazon, and all these businesses that were more forward thinking. And I think countries today that are these really powerful countries that you could have never imagined these countries ever failing, or these countries ever not being on the top of the most powerful countries on the planet, they'll be kind of like those businesses where they feel they're so arrogant, they're so prideful that what could ever stop us? And in their arrogance, they don't really adopt the future. They try to hold on to the power, hold on to these legacy financial systems, and because of it, they end up falling behind and really, again, becoming more of a second or a third-rate country. And if you want to understand why I believe so deeply that the open market is going to be able to innovate and create a better financial system that's 1,000 times better than anything the government could create, all you got to do is look at what the government already does and the innovation that already comes out of the government. Imagine something like a phone. Imagine if governments back in the 1970s were like, hey, nobody can create phones, nobody can innovate on phones except for the US government. What do you think phones would look like today? In my mind, they would look like phones from the 80s, they're corded phones that are plugged into your wall, and you can just dial on them, right? In my mind, that's probably what phones would look like today if only the government was allowed to innovate and create phones. But instead, we had the open market, innovate and create phones, and we have iPhones, and we have Android phones, and we can, log in with Face ID. I can access email. I can listen to music. I can record video, and it's stabilized. I can take, pro-level photos, and I have just thousands upon thousands of apps and things that I can do on these phones. They're amazing. They're amazing pieces of technology that because they were built and innovated on the open market, I go to government websites sometimes where I have to pay taxes, and those things are the most complicated, confusing things to use on the planet because government just isn't great at innovation. That's just not one of the strong suits of the government. Now imagine the finance system where you have this, governmental lack of innovation, as well as just in general a system that's built primarily to benefit those who are control the system or are in power of the system. And as historical example after historical example has shown us, the thing that these governments do when they get all this power and they get all, they control the financial system is they just slowly erode it away until it eventually collapses. It's just too easy for them to say, hey, I need this money. I'm the bank in monopoly. I'm going to take that money, even if it hurts all the other players. Or in this example, it hurts all the other, citizens of the US or the people in the world. It doesn't really register on the radar. It's not like they're intentionally being like, hey, I'm trying to be evil. It's just like, why does somebody trying to lose weight eat that brownie that's, on the counter? And it's because like short-term gains outweigh their thoughts of like the future gains. So like they're looking at it and like, well, it tastes way better to have this brownie right now. And I know I'm trying to lose weight or whatever, but like that brownie's sitting in front of me right now. So I'm going to take it and I'll pay for the consequences later. And that's kind of how the government has operated or operates with these financial systems is they take the short-term gains they can get right now, where it's like I get a promotion or I look really good or like I get more votes and I get voted into the office next election cycle by, spending this money on this pointless, worthless thing that doesn't really matter. Even though that's at the expense of future generations or future people or maybe the population as a whole, they don't really see that because, they're more interested in whatever short-term gain that they can get out of controlling that system, which is why fundamentally it's kind of just a bad idea to have any sort of central figure of power that controls these systems because they will always eventually use it for their self-gain. So I believe very deeply that separating money from state would be a net positive for all of humanity. Having the ability to say, hey, like as a government, you shouldn't be in charge of money because you're a bad boy. You do bad things with that money. And when you're in charge, you're just not really good at your job. Go do other things. But the money thing, that's going to be, open and free and global and something that is run by the free market to where it benefits all people and not just a few people. Not a lot of people realize that a lot of the poverty that we experience in the world is caused by the fact that these governments run these systems so bad. They, like in the US, like we print money, that causes inflation, that devalues the value, the spending power of your money. Or just think about the fact that when you have unlimited funds to fuel a war, you get bigger and bigger wars. Or when you have unlimited funds to expand the government, you get more expansive reach into your everyday lives by the government. Crypto's promise is an open and global financial system that anyone can access permissionlessly. Just like the printing press took the power of spreading ideas away from the elites and gave it to everyone, and just like the internet took the world's knowledge and information and put it into the hands of the everyday person, crypto promises to take the power of finance that's currently held by the elites of the world, the governments of the world, and puts that power into the hands of the everyday person. So the reason I believe that crypto will be so amazing, such an amazing innovation for humanity more than AI or quantum computing and all these other things is because it'll provide that better financial soil for more innovation to spring up internally in these countries, especially a lot of these third world countries where, they struggle to be able to do that because again, they're just focusing on putting food on the table. And I believe from those innovations and those people and those businesses and those things that are built, we will see all kinds of amazing discoveries and innovation and things that we never thought of because it makes humanity more productive because we no longer have this friction that inherently comes from a government-run financial system. That's why I'm so personally passionate about crypto, and that's why I started the podcast, is because I want to share more of these kind of ideas, more of like what's happening in the space and why it's important with more people, because too many people are just hearing the bad things or hearing the negative things, and they don't see the other side of it. They don't see what's actually being built. They don't see why this is such a special thing that needs to be protected, fostered, and grown, because it's such a net positive for humanity. And so my podcast is going to be a great place to learn about things like DeFi, GameFi, NFTs, ZK rollups, the future of blockchain, how blockchains work and function, the future of finance, macro, the history of finance. It's also going to be a great place to just learn about investing and building wealth overall. That's still something I'm really passionate about. That's still something that I think improves people's lives and improves societies, is knowing how to manage money well, because when a society as a whole can manage money well, if you look at the government, they're really, like I said, bad at managing money, and it's caused all this excess and negative things with the financial system. Well, that's one part of it, but the other part of it is like people as a whole. If they're really bad at managing wealth and getting into all this credit card debt, that's also really bad for a country. That's also bad financial soil. So I'm still really passionate about teaching people how to manage wealth, how to handle money, correctly to allow them to prosper and grow and prosper and grow their family. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of those things, trading strategies, risk management and different things like that as well. And I'm a big believer too that the way that you win investing, the way that you succeed investing is by understanding the space better than everyone else. If you know the space better and you understand where it's going, then you can more easily plot a course to kind of like put yourself there early, right? If you see a technology that's emerging, you understand the space and you're like, this technology is definitely the future of crypto, you're going to be more well positioned to get into that space early and then benefit from the upside early. If you want to check out the first 3 episodes of the podcast, like I said, it's out now. There's a link in the description and you can check out those first 3 episodes. I have one episode that's kind of like this video where I kind of talk about why I created the podcast, kind of like the constitution for my podcast. And then I have 2 other episodes. One's focused on primarily trading and investing in that sort of side of crypto. And the other episode is primarily focused on like the technology and like what's being built in that whole kind of side of crypto. And I did that because I wanted people to understand like, yeah, I'm going to talk about investing. I'm also going to talk about technology. And that way you get a feel for both, initially right when the podcast launches. Outside of that, I have 4 other episodes that I've recorded. One talks about the crypto reserve currency and like why we need a DeFi native reserve currency. One talks about why blockchains might not be the future and why blockchains might be destined to eventually die. Another talks about more of the investing side of things and like how you can put your money to work, how you can be building wealth and kind of some of the best tactics and strategies in that arena. And the last one talks about GameFi and how like NFTs and gaming and crypto all mend together and what the future of that space might look like. I also do have sponsors on my podcast, which is kind of a new thing for me. If you guys have been following me for a long time, I don't do any sponsored videos on YouTube. So this is kind of my first foray into sponsorships. And so I have sponsors on my podcast. You'll notice that as a new thing. I try to pick really good sponsors that I aligned with or products that I use. None of my sponsors are going to be like an NFT project or like, buy this token or anything like that. They're all going to be like products or like things that you can actually use. I have an email in the description if there's somebody who wants to sponsor an ad slot or are interested in that. Okay, so why have I been less active on YouTube and what does kind of the future hold for me on YouTube and what's been going on? Well, I love YouTube and I have a blast making videos. Lately, it's felt like YouTube has really become a much more of a job than I originally intended. It got to the point where I felt like I couldn't take any time off from YouTube because I knew that the algorithm would kind of punish me for not uploading and posting. And I was like, I got to keep a consistent schedule. And YouTube videos in general are like a lot of overhead. They're a lot of work. You got to you got to write write out the general topic you're going to talk about. You got to record it. You got to edit it. You got to shoot a thumbnail, all of these different things. They take a lot of time. And YouTube had become kind of such a grind for me. And originally when I started my entire journey from unemployment to millionaire, my journey had been about building wealth so that I could spend more time with my family. And YouTube made that really, really difficult where a lot of my time it was focused on YouTube. That was like a big part of my priority. And like, although I wasn't working late, I wasn't working overtime, I wasn't working weekends or anything crazy like that, it still made it so like going on vacation or just taking a day off was really, really difficult and would stress me out and make me be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall behind. I have all this extra work I'm going to have to shove into, one day. And it just made it really difficult in general to enjoy taking time off or to enjoy taking a day off and maybe going on a hike with my family or whatever. My priority should be being a good dad and being a good husband, and putting out a video a week at the quality that I was putting it out made it just too difficult for one guy to accomplish. So I have decided to instead simply put out videos when I feel like it. I'll put out videos. Maybe it's for a month I do go once a week. Maybe it's once every other week. Maybe it's once a month. Maybe it's once every 3 weeks. In general, I'll put out videos when I have something really compelling to share. I have something that I want to put together a video of, and it's kind of going back into that zone, the original zone it was in, which is it's more of a hobby. It's more of a place that I can come share the ideas, the things I'm up to, document my journey, and just help people with kind of, learning the lessons that I'm learning along the way on my own journey. People can reflect on what I'm doing and be like, yeah, that was a really dumb idea you did, Jesse. I'm not going to do that same thing. Or also like, wow, I never thought about this, lesson you learned from this. That's a really smart thing. I'm going to adopt that and take that into my own life. I still love YouTube. It's one of my favorite things on the planet. I love making videos. I have a blast. This is just about adjusting like the consistency of me putting out YouTube videos really more than anything else. I'm not going to stop putting out awesome content. I'm not going to stop putting out videos because I do enjoy it. It's like one of the funnest things in the world to me. It's just, I don't want to be constrained to like, I have to put out a video every single week or else the algorithm's going to hate me. Like, I don't care if the algorithm hates me. I guess, if people want to watch, they'll watch. If people don't want to watch, they won't watch. If the algorithm hates me, whatever. If the algorithm loves me, that's amazing. And then on top of that, I also have this podcast, which podcast is much lower effort. Like I could do so many episodes of the podcast, and it's not even close to putting out just one YouTube video. And so that allows me to kind of like, I will still have consistent content that'll be coming out. I'll have content coming out every single week. It's just going to be, some of that's going to be in podcast form, some of that's going to be in shorts form, some of that's going to be in YouTube form. And it's just kind of like, yeah, if you want to keep up and you want to kind of follow along, there will be content out there for you. It just won't all be YouTube videos. As always, none of this was investment advice. If somehow you construed what I'm talking about in this video, which I know at least one person did, if somehow you construed this as investment advice, it's not. Just FYI. Surprise! It's not investment advice, like it always isn't. As well as, if this video is helpful, make sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, or just want to say something in the comments, I guess it's a free country. You're welcome to go to the comments and say something. And as always, if you want to keep up to date with what I'm doing or you want to follow along, make sure to check out the podcast, subscribe to that. But it's also make sure to click the subscribe button and the little bell next to it here on YouTube. That way you'll get notified each time I release a video, especially since I'm not releasing one every week. It would probably be helpful to click that bell, because that way when I do, you'll get that notification and you'll get to see it. And, that if that's something you're into, then you can do that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you not next week. I'll see you, and I'll see you when I see you.